The reason why I prefer gold to silver, but I have both. It is really, this whole thing in a sound money strategy is about functionality. What am I trying to accomplish? And because I have looked at this stuff so many years, what you see is that gold outperforms because it is the primary currency metal. Okay, and it is what they revalue this stuff against. And so the official US price of gold on our government's books is still $42.22. I don't know when they're going to change that, but every single government has a gold revaluation account. So gold, I like gold better because it's the primary currency metal. It does not get used up in manufacturing or anything. And we can account for pretty much all of the gold that exists. And when they do that overnight reset, historically, gold always outperforms silver. The contract for silver is, I don't know, we can find that more easily, frankly, on the global debt clock, where it'll have on the side, but I have not found that in terms of the Bank for International Settlements. My bet is, frankly, that it's even worse than it is for gold. And that was gold back in 2009. I can tell you this is a guess. I don't have that data because they changed the formulas so to hide the truth, but that was the number before, and it was 62,000 to 1 was the number according to the Bank for International Settlements for 1 ounce of gold to 62,000 digital ounces. My guess is it's worse because silver gets used up. So it's actually a diminishing asset, and they didn't change, to my knowledge anyway, they did not have to change the prospectus on gold. They could still put GLD, the gold ETF, could still put baskets of gold together, whereas after 2020, GLD or SLV had to change the prospectus to simply make it look like or follow the spot market because they couldn't put the baskets together. Having said that,
gold remains the world's primary monetary metal. Unlike silver, it is not destroyed in use, and nearly all of it can be accounted for. Governments still carry gold at outdated valuations, such as the U.S. Treasury's official 42 and 22s per ounce, despite its real market value being far higher. Historically, during monetary resets, gold has outperformed silver because it is the metal central banks revalue currencies against. This ability to preserve purchasing power through crises makes gold the cornerstone of sound money strategies. For governments, rising gold prices often signal currency weakness, which is why official suppression remains a long-standing tactic.
the reason why I prefer gold to silver, but I have both. It is really, this whole thing in a sound money strategy is about functionality. What am I trying to accomplish? And because I have looked at this stuff so many years, what you see is that gold outperforms because it is the primary currency metal, okay? And it is what they revalue this stuff against. And so the official US price of gold on our government's books is still $42.22. I don't know when they're going to change that, but every single government has a gold revaluation account. So gold, I like gold better because it's the primary currency metal. It does not get used up in manufacturing or anything. And we can account for pretty much all of the gold that exists. And when they do that overnight reset, historically, gold always outperforms silver.
A practical wealth strategy goes beyond simply choosing gold or silver. It depends on personal goals. Silver can serve well for day-to-day barter, purchasing food, fuel, or basic goods, while gold is more effective for larger expenses such as property taxes or medical needs. Building a layered portfolio ensures resilience across different stages of economic turmoil. Some investors stockpile barterable metals for short-term use, while others acquire collectible or rare coins intended to preserve wealth for future generations. The key is defining objectives first: security, income, or legacy, and then selecting the metals and forms best aligned with those outcomes.
Because silver, even though that is the secondary monetary metal, it still has a lot of influence based upon what's happening to the global economy. And we're, I don't like saying this, but there's not one doubt in my mind, but that we're headed into a hyperinflationary depression. So you need both. The amount of silver that I have personally is based on my current standard of living for not just me, but for my daughters as well. 10 years worth of barterable silver and frankly also barterable gold. I have 10 years worth of a barterable position. Some things are done better with silver, like gas or strawberries or things like that. Some things are done better with gold, like property taxes and ongoing medical issues that you might have and those kinds of things. So you define what you're trying to accomplish first, and then you introduce what kind, and because it's a diversified portfolio, but what is going to support those goals, and then it's built in layers so that no matter where you are in this trend cycle, you are fine, you are covered. They do it with both. And, I've shown you so many times the charts where when they do that overnight revaluations, the spot contract just goes up 3,500% or whatever it's going to go up, but straight up. That is the difference between the government suppressing the price, so you not really knowing how much its true value in terms of this garbage that it is. But when they do that revaluation, that's when it begins to move in terms of that currency, closer to that fundamental value. That's why it's always a straight up move, because governments suppress it, since a rising gold price is an indication of a failing currency. But that's what I pay attention to, and that's how I've made my personal choices. What am I trying to accomplish? What's the best tool for that job?
When governments reprice gold during economic resets, the effect is dramatic. History shows sudden overnight adjustments, with gold sometimes surging thousands of %. These revaluations expose the true weakness of fiat currencies, which lose credibility during crises. Silver, though affected, is more tied to industrial cycles, making its movements less predictable. Suppression of precious metal prices is common because governments fear that rising gold signals collapsing confidence in money. But when the suppression breaks, the shift is abrupt and severe. This dynamic underpins why holding physical gold and silver outside the system remains a critical hedge.
It goes back to, what are you trying to accomplish? There would be a variety of those pre-33s from raw, which is what this is. This is 1903, and it is a raw $20 gold coin that has been in circulation. You see me touch it all the time, right? I use this for my emergency savings, but I use this for the intention of converting into some income producing assets. And it depends on the quality level. Well, they're all the same gold content, so that has nothing to do with quality level. It's the level of blemish and how many are known to exist. And then the historic performance of those would be better for, say, if you are thinking that you were going to convert into dividend paying stocks as example, or you're going to convert it into income producing real estate or rights. So there is not one pat answer. Again, I say you define what you're trying to accomplish, and then allow that to dictate what you position into. But I will tell you this, In all those different categories, when we're looking at putting a portfolio together, they're going to look at all the coins available in each category. And then it's kind of like real estate, right? Because what we're going to be looking at is the cheapest house in the best neighborhood. So we're always trying to give you the most bang for your buck. But so I can't do one in particular because it depends. If you're doing legacy, then you're going to go to a much more rare piece because the intention of that is to never convert it. It's to pass it down through generations to ensure that all generations after you have wealth, unless of course they do something stupid, which can happen. I mean, it does happen, but I can't control that. I just look from down high and go, don't do that. I don't know. If I could do it, I will. If not, I won't.
The financial world is moving toward digital currencies, raising questions about privacy, autonomy, and wealth preservation. Central banks have already tested coordinated interventions, and many observers believe a globally synchronized reset could be on the horizon. While de-dollarization advances, with nations like China and Russia seeking alternatives, trust among central banks is fractured. Digital currencies may promise convenience, but they also increase surveillance and control. If citizens lack assets outside the system, they risk being trapped in policies they cannot resist. For this reason, holding redeemable gold, or at least physical wealth independent of banks, remains a crucial safeguard.
I do believe that this will happen in a global effort. I mean, we certainly saw from 2008 until 2022 a global effort of central banks all working together. And whoever actually really accomplishes a gold-backed currency, the wealth would flow there. And I'm pretty sure that most central banks do not want to give anyone a way out of this circumstance, which is why I think it will more likely be a globally coordinated effort. But that doesn't mean that the de-dollarization has gone away, because indeed it has not gone away. And right now, it's so interesting to watch the U.S. try to create a new market, artificial market for dollars and dollar debts, because that's what the Genius Act is really all about. But most of the stable coins that are out there are dollar backed. Well, guess what? Those all go the way of the dollar. So what you're referring to with these exchanges, with these gold exchanges, is more closer to like the de-dollarization, and the lines of allies is absolutely being reborn. And the U.S. has certainly shown the world that we will use dollars as a weapon. We've weaponized the dollar for sure. We will use the dollar as a weapon against well, allies or foes. So we'll see. You know, I mean, I certainly could be wrong. It's not like it's going to be my voice that says, no, we must all do this reset together. It doesn't really work quite like that. They will all do what is in their best interest to do. So should Russia or China or any other country determine that it is in their best interest to act alone, they'll act alone. That's what we learned with the Swiss surprise back in 2015. That's why central banks don't really trust each other the way they once did.
The future of money appears increasingly digital, yet the principles of sound money remain timeless. Owning physical gold and silver allows individuals to become their own central banks, maintaining independence from financial systems prone to manipulation. Beyond metals, true resilience also requires community, food security, energy access, and shelter. History warns that societies which surrender all control to centralized systems often lose personal freedoms. The choice today is clear. Prepare wisely with tangible assets that preserve wealth and autonomy. The battle is not only about money, but about safeguarding independence for ourselves and the generations to come.
They're going to show it to you how convenient, how it's in your best interest, how, more and more things going online. What that really means is there's more and more crypto theft. There's more and more identity theft. There's a lot more of that. It would actually be the opposite. But yeah, they're presenting it like all of these rules are in know your customer, but who is that really going to control? Because if you're a bad person, you're going to figure out a way to get around the system. It's the good people that follow the rules that get really mostly caught in this trap. But I think there is a huge possibility that all governments, all central banks want to go to a full digital system. And I think that we will. But we can still have a component of redeemable gold in that new system. Just means that you get to pull out the gold if you don't like what we're seeing. And I mean, I don't know if we can really make that happen or not, but why would I give up before I even put forth all the effort that I possibly can? This is really, I'm doing this for our future, for our children, not for us old people, So yeah, I think we're absolutely going full digital. And even if we can't get redeemable gold in the system, makes it all better reason for you to have it outside of the system, for you to become your own central banker, have your sound money platform, create that community around you so that you have surety in your food, water, energy, security, barterability, wealth preservation. Community is arguably the most important part of that anymore, and shelter, so that you can lead a reasonably free life. Because if we're fully digital and you have no money, sound money outside of the system, and they say jump, aren't you going to have to say how high? Aren't you going to have to jump to whatever it is that they want? By 2030, you will own nothing. You want to go back to feudal times? Some people will. Not wanting to, but some people will. I don't want to, and I don't want that for my family, and I don't want that for you or your family. So that's the battle.